The Flying Thunder God technique is a space-time ninjutsu created by Tobirama Senju. To use it, the user needs to mark their target with the special jutsu formula. With just a light touch, this formula remains in place even after the user dies. Once a target is marked, the user can instantly teleport to that spot whenever they want, no matter the distance or dimension. They can also teleport anything they're holding or anything linked to their chakra, but this uses extra chakra, especially with big objects, which can limit how far they can go. In battle, marking an opponent with the formula is a huge advantage. The user can teleport to them anytime. If the opponent tries to attack, the user can strike first. If the opponent tries to run, the user can instantly be by their side. It's also a great defensive move, since users can teleport away from an attack in a flash. To use for offense, users often apply the mark to weapons that they can throw or use in combat, such as marking kunai before throwing it and warping to it for a surprise attack. The number of targets that can be marked depends on the user's chakra reserves and the ability to maintain the marks. Minato, for instance, could use this technique on dozens of targets at once, but there's no limit to the usefulness of this technique, as it helped Minato teleport across space and time in a flash-like instance, earning him the title of the fastest ninja of his time. When Tobirama and Minato were resurrected during the Fourth Great Shinobi World War, Tobirama linked himself to Minato's network, so he could teleport to the latter's jutsu formulas. This led to their joint technique, the Flying Thunder God Mutually Instantaneous Revolving Technique, where they'd switch places to catch enemies off guard. Each also had their own signature version of this jutsu, Tobirama's Flying Thunder God Slash, where he'd teleport and stab his opponent immediately, and Minato's Flying Thunder God Guiding Thunder, which created a barrier to redirect attacks to a different location. The Night Gai is an ultra-powerful forbidden taijutsu that can only be used after opening all 8 gates. Gai pulls this out as a last-ditch move to fight against Madara. When he starts the technique by saying charge, he releases a massive amount of red steam, called the Steam of Blood, and his chakra forms a huge fiery red dragon around him. Unlike other 8 gates techniques, which combine an animal and a time of day, this one swaps out the animal's name for Gai's, showing that he's basically become the dragon himself. When he shouts flow, Gai rockets forward at such insane speed that the space in front of him gets warped, making it impossible for his opponent to block and dodge. He then delivers a monstrous kick with so much force that it can completely destroy the target's body and send out a massive shockwave. Even Madara, who had the power of the Ten Tails at the time, was genuinely scared for his life when facing this attack. The recoil is brutal though, as Gai's leg is completely shattered from the kick, and the toll of opening all 8 gates puts him on the verge of death. His body starts to break down and crumble like ash from the overwhelming release of his chakra. Gai almost dies after using Night Gai, but thankfully Naruto steps in with his 6 pass power and heals him just in time. And really quick, if you guys enjoy this straight to the point informative content, covering any anime and manga topic you can think of, then make sure to subscribe and turn those notifications on, because we post a video on here every 5 days, and we take video suggestions from viewers all the time. But anyway, the Tailed Beast Ball is the ultimate move of the Tailed Beast, and Jinchuriki can use it too when they're transformed. It's made by combining an 8:2 ratio of positive black chakra and negative white chakra. The user has to gather this chakra in their mouth, shape it into a sphere or cone, and then launch it at their target. Most just fire the blast as is, but some swallow the ball and shoot it as a beam, to focus the destruction on a small area instead of causing a big explosion. Gyuki even shoots it as a massive wave. Kurama in particular has created tailed beast balls way bigger than itself, despite only using part of its chakra. They can fire it at incredible speed, just like when the Ten Tails releases a ball that can cover miles in a second. The tailed beast can also combine their attacks to make an even larger one. The explosions caused by the tailed beast ball are massive, and can vaporize almost everything in their path. Even when a Jinchuriki isn't in full tailed beast mode, their tailed beast ball is still really powerful, though not as strong as it could be. Some Jinchuriki have unique ways of using it. Obito, as the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, creates multiple tailed beast balls through a tree he summons and fires them all in different directions. Naruto in his Nine Tails Chakra mode forms a tailed beast ball in his hands like a Rasengan. In the anime, Sora uses an all-white tailed beast ball, while influenced by Nine Tails Chakra. Himawari Uzumaki can form one quickly from her mouth and hair, making her look like a mini Kurama when she uses it. Due to their link to the Ten Tails, The self-aware god trees can use tailed beast balls too, but unlike the other beasts, Jura creates one from his right Rinnegan. The continuous tailed beast balls is a more advanced version of the regular technique used by tailed beasts in their Jinchuriki. Instead of firing a huge blast, the user quickly creates and shoots several small ones. This makes it a lot harder for enemies to dodge, and results in a rapid destructive barrage of attacks. The big advantage of this technique over the regular tailed beast balls is its rapid fire rate, larger area of effect, and the fact that it's harder to avoid, since there are multiple projectiles coming at once. It can also overwhelm defensive techniques more easily. The downside is that each ball is usually less powerful than a fully charged one, but the combined damage can still be massive. This technique first showed up in the anime-only scene, where Kurama in his six-tailed form attacks Pain by firing several tailed beast balls in rapid succession. The Wind Release Rasen Shuriken is Naruto's upgraded version of the Wind Release Rasengan. After he figured out the basics, he came up with this shuriken-shaped Rasengan with 4 sharp-pointed blades. Naruto usually needs 2 shadow clones to help form it. One clone holds the chakra steady, the other adds his wind nature, while he supplies raw chakra. At first the Rasen Shuriken had some issues. It tends to fizzle out, so Naruto had to use it in close combat to keep it stable. While its intense power can severely damage his targets, it also damages his own arm when used. He was able to solve these problems once he learned to use Senjutsu. Now he can throw it as a projectile to keep him out of harm's way. When he tosses it, he can make it expand mid-flight to catch dodging opponents. The Rasen Shuriken uses a lot of chakra, so Naruto can typically use about 3 of them before getting tired. In Sage mode, he can make 2 of them before needing to recharge, but he eventually improved enough to throw 3 in a row. In Kurama mode, he can pretty much use them in unlimited fashion. Its points are sharp enough to slice through rock and tear apart most of Pain's human path. When it hits, the central sphere explodes into a massive vortex that's packed with tiny wind blades. These blades are so small and numerous that they hit every cell in the body, cutting off the target's chakra flow and preventing any healing through ninjutsu. Later on, Naruto starts using the Rasen Shuriken as a base for other moves. He can make bigger or smaller versions, combine it with different chakra types, or add tailed beast balls or truth-seeking balls in the center for an even bigger impact. The Reaper Death Seal is a powerful but deadly jutsu created by the Uzumaki clan that calls upon Shinigami, or the Death God, to completely seal away a target's soul. The caster also loses their soul in the process, making it a serious last resort. Minato Namikaze first used it during Obito's attack on the Leaf Village, sealing half of the 9 tails inside of him. Hiruzen Sarutobi also used it during Orochimaru's invasion to seal away Orochimaru's arms and stop him from using jutsu ever again. Once the summoner finishes the hand seals, the Shinigami shows up and creates a curse seal that gives the summoner the power to trap the target's soul. The Shinigami's hands comes out of the summoner's body and grabs the target's soul, freezing them in place and cancelling any jutsu they're using. With the target immobilized, the summoner can pull out and seal their soul, but the target's soul ends up locked inside the summoner's body. Once it's done, the Shinigami slowly devours the summoner's soul, leading to their death. Neither the summoner nor the target's soul moves on to the afterlife. Instead, they're trapped in the Shinigami's stomach forever, battling each other for eternity. The only way to free a soul from the Shinigami is by using the Reaper Death Seal Release. For this, someone has to wear the Shinigami mask, which causes them to be possessed by the Shinigami. If they cut their stomach open, the Shinigami does the same, freeing any souls trapped inside. However, there's a downside. The mask doesn't protect the user from dying from their own injury. When Orochimaru used this to restore his arms, he survived by switching bodies. After releasing the other souls, Orochimaru was even able to perform the Reanimation Jutsu. Kadin is a powerful lightning release jutsu created by Sasuke. Instead of relying entirely on his own chakra, Sasuke uses real lightning from thunderclouds to boost the attack's power, which he then controls with chakra. Since this technique uses natural lightning, it hits the ground almost instantly, but the downside is that setting it up takes time, which lowers its efficiency. If there aren't any thunderclouds around, the user has to create them by using fire jutsu. With techniques as strong as Amaterasu, Sasuke can create even more powerful storm clouds. Once the lightning is ready, Sasuke doesn't need much chakra to shape and direct it to its target. Kirin is strong enough to destroy the Uchiha hideout, and even through Itachi's Susanoo. During their fight, Itachi barely managed to summon Susanoo in time to block Kirin, but he still got knocked down due to the sheer power and speed of the attack. After using the ability, the storm clouds vanish, so it's typically a one-time move in a fight. But if he uses Amaterasu, which has flames that can't be put out through normal means, Sasuke can keep creating thunderclouds to use Kadin again, though it takes a bit more time to set it all up. The Lightning Cutter is Kakashi's special name for Chidori. It got its name when he famously used it to slice through a bolt of lightning, although he specifically did not create it for that purpose. This feat shows off Kakashi's extra skill with it, but in terms of technique, it's almost identical to Chidori. In simple terms, it's just his unique spin on the move. Both involve focusing lightning chakra in his hand to pierce through targets, and both need the Sharingan to be used safely because of the tunnel vision effect. The Lightning Cutter also takes up a lot of chakra, so there's a limit to how many times he can use it. In part 1, he can use it about 4 times a day, but he boosts this in part 2, where he can use it more while showing new ways to use it, like forming one in each hand, to counter powerful lightning attacks. He even combines his Lightning Cutter with Shadow Clones, creating an arc of electricity to hit multiple opponents. He can also channel it through kunai, making it more powerful and allowing him to throw the Lightning Cutter from a distance. While Kakashi's body is briefly powered by Obito's spirit, Kakashi uses 6 Paz power with his Lightning Cutter to damage Kaguya, pairing it with Kamui so that her attacks go right through him. After losing his Sharingan during the 4th Great Shinobi World War, Kakashi stops using Lightning Cutter since he can't avoid the tunnel vision effect safely anymore. To adapt, he develops a new go-to technique, Lightning Release Purple Electricity, which works in a similar way, but doesn't require the Sharingan to use it. Creation Rebirth was a technique created by Tsunade. This basically works by pumping a ton of chakra into the body in order to speed up cell division. So anytime she gets hurt or her body parts are damaged, she heals almost instantly no matter how bad the injury is. While this technique is active, she can't really die because it can rebuild whole organs and limbs. With how quickly missing parts can regrow, it makes her seemingly immortal. This is why it's called the pinnacle of medical ninjutsu and the ultimate regeneration technique. However, there's a downside to this. Instead of fixing old cells, it just rushes the creation of new ones, which isn't great long term. This rapid cell division actually shortens her lifespan, since cells can only divide so many times. This is why Tsunade's true form is that of an elderly woman, despite her youthful appearance maintained by her transformation technique. This jutsu also laid the groundwork for a more advanced version called Ninja Art Creation Rebirth Strength of 100 Technique. This one can be activated quickly and lasts longer. Both Tsunade and her student Sakura eventually mastered these techniques, making them top-tier medical ninjas who can bounce back from serious injuries. The main difference between this refined version and Creation Rebirth is the fact that it initiates the healing process automatically. This would actually be considered its own separate S-rank jutsu. Also, the Strength of 100 technique can be passed on to someone else temporarily. The Yin Seal Release is an advanced technique that lets the user tap into all the chakra saved up in the Strength of 100 seal. It's mainly linked to Tsunade and her student Sakura, who stash some of their extra chakra in the seal on their foreheads over time. When they release it, the seal spreads across their entire body in the form of black lines. This makes all the stored chakra available for use. This huge chakra reserve can power some seriously intense techniques, like the aforementioned Creation Rebirth or the Ninja Art Creation Rebirth Strength of 100 seal technique. By releasing the seal, they get access to the massive amount of chakra they built up. The main difference between this and the Creation Rebirth technique is that Yin Seal Release is simply about releasing the stored chakra, while Creation Rebirth is a specific way to use the chakra for healing. Think of Yin Seal Release as an opening of power reserves that can be channeled into whatever techniques the user needs. It takes incredible chakra control and years of careful chakra storage to master, making it one of the most advanced techniques in medical ninjutsu. The sealing technique, Phantom Dragon's 9 consuming seals, is a powerful jutsu used by Pain and the rest of the Akatsuki in order to seal away a tailed beast or extract the tailed beast from a Jinchuriki, which is then transferred into the demonic statue of the Outer Path. The whole process took a whopping 3 days, and this is if 9 members are involved. Zetsu mentioned that if it were fewer people, it would take even longer. To kick things off, Pain would summon the demonic statue, and then the Akatsuki member would take their place on one of its fingertips, which matches their rings. When they activate the technique, the statue spits out a bit. Everyone must focus their chakra, causing the symbols from their rings to show up on the fingernail they're standing on. After that, 9 dragon-like figures would pour out of the statue's mouth, surround the host, and painfully yank the tailed beast out of them. If the tailed beast was still sealed, the same process would happen to the beast itself. taking it just as long as if it were already unsealed. Once it was all done, the beast could be trapped inside the statue, and one of the 9 eyes would open up. Unfortunately, the host would die in the process because of the tailed beast's removal. There's a specific order to seal them. The 9 tails has to be sealed last, or the whole statue would crumble. After Nagato's death, Tobi mentioned that they need a new pawn to sync with the demonic statue in order to seal the 8 and 9 tails. While Nagato had plans to use this technique as a weapon of peace, for Madara Uchiha's Eye of the Moon plan, as Obito's task was to make sure the demonic statue and the tailed beasts come together to form the 10 tails again. The 8 branches technique is a transformation technique that Orochimaru uses when he bursts out of Sasuke's cursed seal. When he activates this jutsu, he transforms into a huge white serpent with 8 heads and 8 tails. Each head can act independently, with each one possessing immense strength. Just by slithering along, it was able to wreck pretty much anything in its way. When he's in this form, Orochimaru can pop out of one of the heads' mouths and whip out the Sword of Kusanagi to attack. He notably used this technique during his fight with Itachi, but it didn't work out so well against Itachi's Susanoo. The Spirit Transformation technique is a unique jutsu mainly used by Don Kato, who was Tsunade's late boyfriend. This advanced technique lets the user split their spirit from their physical body, kind of like doing some sort of astral projection. When they activate it, their spirit takes on a ghostly form that can move around on its own. In this state, they can phase through walls and become totally intangible, making it tough for anyone to hit them with regular attacks. Its most notable application is the ability to possess other people's bodies while the user keeps their spirit form. This gives them a lot more options in a fight. They can either take over the person completely, which could end up killing them by collapsing their spirit, or just control their actions. They can also use it to send messages or transfer chakra. The interesting part is that it can always reach the target, even if the user doesn't know where they are. One way to counter this is to trap the user in a barrier, like the 4 violet flames formation, and this must be used before activating the technique. There is a major downside to this technique. While the spirit is out and about, the physical body is left vulnerable. If the body gets hurt or destroyed while the spirit is away, the user is done for. This makes using the technique pretty risky in battle, unless the user has some sort of protection. Don used this technique during the Second Shinobi World War, where he took out countless shinobi before he succumbed to his fatal injuries. After being brought back to life, with the summoning impure world reincarnation, he used the same technique to take control of his ascending spirit in order to fly over to Tsunade's location. The White Secret Technique, Chikamatsu Collection of 10 Puppets, is a ninjutsu created by Monzaemon Chikamatsu, who's basically the father of puppet jutsu. Sometime after his death, Granny Chiyo acquired these puppets and later mastered the same technique. This technique lets the user control 10 advanced puppets all at once. Each of the 10 puppets is controlled by one of the user's fingers, and each has a specific role and special weapons. They can launch explosive attacks, use a variety of weapons, trap enemies in cages, set up chakra shields, and even perform sealing techniques. These puppets can also work together for some seriously powerful combo moves, like the 3 jewels suction crushing formation, where 3 puppets create a terrifying tornado that sucks in enemies and crushes them with tremendous force. On top of that, they can even change their numbers by combining, which opens up even more attack possibilities. What makes this technique really impressive is the insane skill and chakra control it takes to manage 10 puppets at once. Most puppet masters can only handle 1 puppet per chakra thread, but those who master this technique can coordinate all 10 like a pro. Granny Chiyo showed off this technique during her fight alongside Sakura against her grandson Sasori, proving that her 10 puppets could take out even 100 puppets. Red Secret Technique, Performance of 100 Puppets, is one of the most advanced puppet techniques used by Sasori of the Red Sand, which allows him to control hundreds of puppets at once, which is pretty much unheard of, and showcases his insane puppet skills. To pull this off, he pulls out a summoning scroll from his back, opens a compartment in his chest, and releases over 100 chakra strings. These strings connect to the scroll and bring out an army of puppets dressed in red cloaks. Most puppet masters can handle only 10 puppets max, essentially 1 per finger, but Sasori's technique is on a different level, and since his puppets are directly connected to his core, there's zero time lag in their movements as they respond instantly to commands. All the weapons wielded by his puppets are coated in a special poison that can paralyze the victims in agonizing pain for 3 days until they die. He used this technique to take down an entire nation, which showcased how dangerous it is for both small fights and large-scale battles. But even Sasori's 100 puppets met their match when they fought against Chiyo, who used the Chikamatsu collection of 10 puppets. Her 10 highly crafted puppets prove that, in some cases, quality can beat quantity, as they held their own against Sasori's massive puppet army through superior craftsmanship and teamwork. The Water Prison's Shark Dance technique is a powerful water-style jutsu used by Kisame Hoshigaki, known as the Monster of the Hidden Mist. After using the Water Release Great Exploding Water Colliding Wave, Kisame shapes the water into a massive dome that stretches out hundreds of meters to trap his enemies. He's right at the center of this water prison, so wherever he moves, the dome shifts along with him, making it extremely hard for his target to escape as long as he's chasing after them. When Kisame fused with Samehada, he gained a huge advantage as he can breathe underwater with gills, looking even more shark-like while his opponent is left struggling to breathe, trying to get out of the water trap. In this form, Kisame can sense his opponent's chakra and absorb it just by touching them. He even has the option to hide within Samehada, saying it's a flawless move since he and Samehada have the same chakra signature, so even sensors cannot track him. This technique is incredible for one-on-one fights, but it's tough controlling two enemies running in opposite directions. The Reverse Force Symbol Sealing is a powerful but sacrificial jutsu that aims to take down anyone nearby when the user dies. Instead of just locking something away, this jutsu places a curse that pulls everything within its range right into the user's body, taking them down along with it. To set this up, the user places the seal on their chest. When it activates, 4 symbols made from the user's own blood create a large black sphere around them. Anything caught in that sphere is sucked in and sealed in within the user's body, which makes it a true last resort technique since there's no way for the user to survive. Danzo Shimura tried using this technique during his fight against Sasuke. As he was dying, he triggered it to try and take both Sasuke and Tobi down with him, but they managed to escape the range just in time. The Forbidden Jutsu of Iwagakure, or the Village Hidden in the Stones, was a jutsu used by Deidara of the Akatsuki. This technique lets the user mold their chakra into materials, giving them the power to shape, control, and even change the size of objects, from super tiny to absolutely massive. Once the chakra is infused, the object can be used for different jutsu. Deidara stole this technique while searching for the ultimate art, and he mixed it with his explosion release Kekkei Genkai to create his signature explosive clay. Deidara also used this kinjutsu in his battle against Sasuke with his ultimate C0 technique, which basically uses one's own body as a bomb and is meant to be a last-ditch resort. Deidara shows off this stitched-up mouth on his chest, which he unseals to feed a big chunk of clay. Since the mouth is linked directly to his heart, it starts building up a ton of chakra while continuously pulling energy straight from the heart's meridians right up until detonation. His chakra then spreads through his veins, which then compress into a sphere that cracks open and eventually blows up, producing a deadly explosion covering a 10-kilometer blast radius. Sekkei, a fabrication created from the genetic material of White Zetsu, also got the nature transformation that grants him access to explosion release after being implanted with explosive clay, also allowing him to use this jutsu in a similar way. The mouths on Deidara's hands and chest are likely a result of using this forbidden jutsu, though Sekkei didn't have those. Earth Grudge Fear is a kinjutsu of Takigakure, or the village hidden in the waterfalls, and was stolen by Kakuzu of the Akatsuki before leaving the village. Earth Grudge Fear basically turns the user's body into something like a rag doll, held together by thick black threads. With it, Kakuzu could patch up any injuries on himself or others, and even reattach severed limbs with it. He could also separate parts of his own body, control them remotely, and put them back together when needed. But these threads weren't just for healing. They could also tear open his target's body, steal their organs, and merge them into his own to extend his life. Kakuzu usually used the technique to steal hearts, keeping up to 4 extra ones stored in masks on his back, which gave him access to different elemental jutsu including fire, lightning, water, and wind. He could even release these hearts from his body, letting them form massive thread-covered limbs or monstrous creatures with the masks as their faces. These masks could move and fight on their own, launching powerful elemental chakra attacks. If Kakuzu was killed, one of his spare hearts could jump back into his body and revive him, so you'd have to kill him at least 5 times in a fight to really take him down. One of his hearts was pierced by Kakashi's lightning cutter, the second was unintentionally destroyed by Hidan, and his remaining 3 hearts were destroyed by Naruto. With no usable heart left, Kakashi was able to finish him off. Techniques that can seriously harm the user are often considered forbidden, and the reverse Lotus is one of them. Rock Lee learned this technique from his mentor, Mike Guy, but it's meant to be used only as a last resort because of how dangerous it is. This move requires opening at least 3 of the 8 gates, which takes off the body's natural limits and pushes the user to insane speeds, and is a technique we'll be covering later. But the reverse Lotus comes with a big risk. The technique can exhaust the user to the point where they can hardly move, or even stay conscious afterwards. Once the gates are opened, the user becomes so fast it's hard to even see their movements, attacking the target from all sides and launching them into the air. When Rock Lee used this against Gaara, even Gaara's automatic sand shield couldn't keep up. Lee's attacks wrapped Gaara in his bandages, which allowed Rock Lee to position him for a final blow that sent him crashing into the ground. The sheer strength and speed of the reverse Lotus make it incredibly powerful, but if the enemy survives, the user is left completely vulnerable. Orochimaru's Cursed Seals of Heaven and Earth is a more twisted version of an existing jutsu. What makes his Cursed Seal special is that it has Jugo's cells in it. Jugo has the ability to absorb natural energy and transform his body for battle. Orochimaru experimented with this ability to create different versions of the Cursed Seal. The most complete versions were the Cursed Seals of Heaven and the Cursed Seals of Earth. The Cursed Seal of Heaven gives the user a massive chakra boost, likely powered by senjutsu, or natural energy, and enhances their physical abilities. Orochimaru gave Sasuke this very seal during the second phase of the Chunin exams, and when Sasuke activates its second level, he was as strong as Naruto's one-tailed form. Anko also had this seal when she was Orochimaru's student, and he briefly reactivated it when they fought in the Forest of Death before Heroes unsealed it again. The Cursed Seal of Earth, which was given to Kimimaru, boosted his chakra, physical strength, and ninjutsu. At the second level, he could even merge with his own bone blades, letting him launch surprise attacks from his enemy's blind spots, and his healing improved, with torn flesh instantly regenerating when he transformed. MultiShadow Clone Jutsu is a powerful jutsu created by Tobirama Senju from the Leaf Village. It's basically a supercharged version of the regular Shadow Clone Jutsu, but instead of making just a few clones, the user can pump out hundreds or even thousands. While it's really strong, it also drains a ton of chakra, so it's not safe for most shinobi. Because of that, the first Hokage made it forbidden, and hid it away in the Scroll of Seals. Naruto, however, is one of the few who can handle it because of his insane chakra reserves. Most people can only make up to 5 clones with regular jutsu, but Naruto can make dozens, hundreds, or even 1,000 at once. While smaller groups of clones are useful for all kinds of tasks, Naruto's huge clone army is mostly used for overwhelming his enemies in battle. He also uses it to speed up his training, like when he mastered the Wind Release Rasengan way faster than normal. This is possible because each clone is capable of independently learning, so all the combined experience of the clones expedited his training. By the time Naruto became Hokage, he was using this technique on a massive scale, helping him handle a bunch of tasks around the village at the same time. Mutually multiplying explosive tags is another deadly jutsu invented by Tobirama Senju. It's a terrifying technique that's usually paired with Edo Tensei, the Reanimation jutsu, which we'll also be talking about in a bit. This jutsu is designed for those brought back to life with Edo Tensei, using special explosive tags to create an endless chain of explosions. The reincarnated individual's body acts as a medium for the paper, which explodes and creates even more tags in the process. So it basically turns their bodies into paper bombs that keep on detonating nearly infinitely due to the regenerative property of Edo Tensei. This leads to a continuous loop of explosions, which can be nearly impossible to escape. Although live individuals can use this technique, it's incredibly dangerous and usually results in sacrificing their own life. The twin Snake Mutual Death Jutsu is a technique taught to Anko by Orochimaru back when she was a student. It's basically a double suicide move. The user grabs the target's hand and forces them to help perform the hand seals. Once that's done, both the user and the target are supposed to die. When Anko tries using it on Orochimaru, she stabs his hand to hers, so he can't escape while she starts the hand seals. But it turns out, Orochimaru was using a Shadow Clone, and Anko stops the jutsu just in time before she ends up killing herself. We never actually see the jutsu work in the series, but in the official guidebook, it's shown as 2 snakes wrapping around the user and the target, biting each other's necks before detonating. One's Own Life Reincarnation is a jutsu created by the Puppet Brigade in Sunagakure, and allows the user to give life to others by using one's own life force. Originally, it was meant to bring puppets to life to make them better in battle. The user channels all of their chakra as a medium, and transfers their life force to the target. It can be used on both the living and the dead, but with different outcomes. If used on someone who's still alive, it can heal them from a fatal injury, although it leaves the user completely drained. If used on the dead, the user will die in exchange for reviving the other person. Chiyo from the Hidden Sand Village is the only person we've seen use this technique. She brought Gaara back to life after the Akatsuki killed him by extracting the one-tailed Shikaku from him. Feeling guilty for sealing Shikaku inside Gaara in the first place, Chiyo used this technique to atone. However, she didn't have enough life force to fully revive him on her own, so then Naruto stepped in and lent her his chakra, allowing her to save Gaara, though it cost Chiyo her life. Since Chiyo was the only known user of this technique, it's believed to have been lost when she died. Strength of 100 Seal is a powerful jutsu that dates back to Hagoromo's era, and both Tsunade and Sakura are well known for using it. The technique allows medical ninjas to store chakra in one spot over a long period of time, and then unleash it all at once when needed, but it's tough to pull off, because it requires extremely precise chakra control to build up and store that much chakra. Typically, the chakra is stored in a specific point on the body, usually the forehead, forming a rhombus-shaped seal. Sakura took about 3 years to store enough chakra to create her own seal, which was impressive considering how hard it is to master. Once released, the seal spreads across the user's face or wraps around their body, pumping the stored chakra into them and boosting their power significantly. The seal stays permanently on their foreheads, allowing them to use its effects whenever they need. It's also linked to Lady Katsuyo, the giant slug summon, allowing the user to perform mass healing or communicate with the slug over long distances. The strength of Katsuyu's abilities directly depends on how much chakra is stored in the seal. Tsunade and Sakura use this stored chakra with the Byakuyo no Jutsu, or Creation Rebirth, which heals their injuries automatically with no hand signs needed. The seal also amps up their physical strength, as seen when Sakura took on the Ten Tails clones during the war. Tsunade also taps into the seal's chakra to maintain her youthful appearance. Fury is an anime-exclusive technique, so powerful it can create a massive explosion big enough to wipe out an entire village. It was created by En no Gyoja, and his granddaughter Hotaru had the technique implanted on her back. To activate the technique, the user first has to gather a ton of chakra using the Tsuchigumo style Forbidden Life technique release, Creation of Heaven and Earth. Because of how destructive it could be, the third Hokage labeled it as a forbidden technique to protect the village, of course. Even though Fury is insanely powerful, Utakata managed to absorb all its power and destroy it by using his Tailed Beast mode. To keep everyone safe after Fury was declared a Kinjutsu, the third Hokage and En no Gyoja agreed on a treaty that Konoha would help the Tsuchigumo clan in times of need. Living Corpse Reanimation is a Kinjutsu created by Orochimaru to transfer his soul into someone else's body, making him essentially immortal. The idea is that he moves into a new, stronger body before his current one starts to break down. By doing this every few years, he can keep living as long as he keeps finding suitable hosts. Orochimaru can only use this technique once every 3 years. As his time in a host body nears the end of the 3 years, the body starts rejecting him and he has to switch to a new one. But if he found the perfect host, he could theoretically stay in the body for a lifetime. This explains why he was so focused on preparing Sasuke and Kimimaro as potential hosts. When Orochimaru is ready to perform the transfer, he sheds his current body to reveal its true form, a huge white snake made up of smaller snakes. He then swallows the new host and takes them to a mental plane, where he essentially overtakes their mind. The snake body dies, and Orochimaru's soul takes over the new body. The souls of the previous hosts remain inside of him, still alive in a way, but suppressed. These souls can potentially resurface if Orochimaru's chakra gets too low, as seen when Sasuke used up most of his chakra, and Orochimaru almost reappeared using the 8 branches technique. Once he's in a new body, Orochimaru modifies it to align with his snake-like abilities, letting him stretch, heal quickly, and even reconnect severed body parts. This lets him survive longer if he can't find a new host right away. After Sasuke revived him using the evil releasing method, which involved Kabuto's modified flesh, Orochimaru bypassed the usual process and transferred himself into a white Zetsu clone. Izanami is one of the most powerful and forbidden jutsu in Uchiha history, and using it comes with a huge price. You lose the sight in one of your eyes forever. It's a genjutsu that traps the target in a loop, making them relive the same moments over and over again. The trick is that this loop is based on shared physical sensations between the user and the target. Itachi Uchiha used Izanami during his fight with Kabuto in the 4th Great Ninja War. Once the jutsu is activated, the target is stuck in the loop, replaying the same events in their mind. Even if they realize what's happening, they can't escape it by trying to act differently because the illusion adapts to their changes and keeps them stuck. The only way out of this infinite loop is for the target to accept the reality of their actions and come to terms with their fate. It's a harsh jutsu that forces the target to face their choices and learn from them, otherwise they're trapped forever. Izanagi, another dojutsu from the Uchiha clan, is the counterpart to Izanami, but with a totally different purpose. Instead of trapping the target in a loop, Izanagi lets the user rewrite reality itself, allowing them to turn illusions into reality. Most Uchiha use this technique to survive fatal injuries, or even death, basically undoing the injury by turning it into an illusion, and replacing it with a non-injured version of themselves. But like Izanami, using Izanagi comes with the cost of permanently losing sight in the Sharingan eye used to perform it. Madara Uchiha used Izanagi to undo his death after his fight with Hashirama, having sealed a time-activated Izanagi in his right eye. This revived him and swapped his real body with a Shadow Clone. Since Uchiha only have half of the sage's chakra, they can usually only keep Izanagi going for a few seconds. Danzo, who had both Uchiha and Senju DNA implanted in him, could use Izanagi for 1 minute. He also had 10 Sharingan implanted in his right arm, letting him stretch out this technique for up to 10 minutes. However, since he wasn't an Uchiha, each use of Izanagi drained a lot of his chakra. Obito Uchiha, with better control over his Senju cells, could maintain Izanagi for much longer. Izanami was actually created as a way to counter and punish those who would abuse Izanagi. The 8 inner gates are chakra points along the body's chakra pathway system that act as limiters. These gates are there to prevent people from using too much chakra and damaging their own bodies. But with the right training, a person can learn to unlock or open the gates. Each gate they open allows more chakra to flow through them, boosting their strength and speed. However, opening the gates comes with a price. It takes a big toll on the body, and even the first few gates can cause fatigue or injury. In the worst case, like opening the final gate, the user dies because their body can't handle the immense chakra flowing through them. Only a few people in the series have been able to open all 8 gates. Might Dai spent 20 years training to master them, and he passed on a strict rule onto his son Guy, to only open the gates when protecting someone important enough to risk your own life. Guy then passed on this rule onto his own student Rock Lee. Dai sacrificed himself by opening the 8th gate, known as the Gate of Death, to save Guy from the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. This gate is located in the heart, and to open it, users puncture their chest with their thumb to force chakra there. Once opened, their hearts pump at maximum capacity, to give them power 100 times greater than their usual strength, which is even stronger than the 5 Kage combined. But of course, it's a deadly power. Eventually, the user's body heats up so much that they burn from the inside out, and eventually completely turn to ash. Guy used the 8th gates during his fight against Madara, who had just gained 6 past power and became seemingly unbeatable, but Guy nearly killed him by unlocking his final gate, and accessing high-level taijutsu like the Evening Elephant and Night Guy. Luckily for Madara, his body succumbs to the overwhelming power of the 8 gates before he could finish him off. Naruto later saves Guy from death with Yin Yang Release, but the loss of his leg and the damage to his body leave him in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. As for Rock Lee, he also mastered all 8 gates by adulthood. The impure world reincarnation, aka Edo Tensei, is a forbidden technique that brings the dead back to life. It was originally created by Tobirama Senju, but he never fully completed it. Orochimaru later found the jutsu and improved it, while Kabuto nearly perfected it. To perform this jutsu, the user needs some DNA from the person they want to bring back, which they smear on a special scroll. The soul of the dead person also needs to be in the Pure Land, and a living sacrifice is required as the vessel for the reincarnated soul. Once the jutsu is activated, the sacrifice's body gets covered in dust and ash, transforming them into the person being revived. The process is painful for the sacrifice, and although they're still technically alive, their body is no longer their own. Once the reincarnated soul is released, the sacrifice automatically dies. Reincarnated individuals can be summoned in 2 ways. They can either travel to the location on foot, or be brought in via coffins that appear wherever needed. When first summoned, they look a little decayed, but the summoner can restore their appearance and plant a control talisman to give them full command over the reincarnated soul. The revived person keeps all their powers, including Kekkei Genkai, but some limitations do exist, like with Madara, who couldn't fully use his abilities after being reincarnated. The summoner can control how much free will the reincarnated person has. At the highest level of control, their personality is wiped out completely, pretty much acting like puppets. Orochimaru likes to use this full control, while Kabuto sometimes switches to it when needed. One of the biggest advantages of this jutsu is that it makes the revived person immortal. They can regenerate from any damage, and keep fighting even while they're healing. Tobirama originally designed the technique for kamikaze-like attacks, and he even made the mutually multiplying explosive tags technique for this purpose. Killing the summoner won't stop the jutsu, but there are 3 ways to end it: removing the reincarnated soul using the Reaper Death Seal, having the summoner stop it, or allowing the reincarnated person to gain closure and freeing themselves from the jutsu's control. Rene Rebirth is a super powerful and forbidden jutsu that can only be used by someone with the Rinnegan. It's accessed through the outer path, which is the 7th and final path of pain. What makes this jutsu so formidable is that it lets the users bring the dead back to life, but not like Edo Tensei, where they get revived as controlled reanimations, but instead actual living humans with full control over themselves. But there's a catch. The user has to give up their own life in exchange for bringing someone else back. When the jutsu is activated, the King of Hell appears, and releases the souls of the dead from his mouth, even pulling them back from the brink of the afterlife. These souls are then returned to their bodies, which are fully healed. We don't know all the limits of this technique, but Pain aka Nagato was able to use it to bring back hundreds of people at once, during his attack on Konoha. The revived people seem to come back with full energy. Later, during the 4th Great Ninja War, Obito used Rene Rebirth to completely revive Madara, who was previously reincarnated through Edo Tensei. Obito survives the technique temporarily, thanks to Black Zetsu attaching to him. Naruto also helped stabilize Obito's life for a short time using a 6th Pass Yang power, but Obito dies eventually.